Welcome to our deep dive into the world of dogs.
Yeah.
We have a really amazing collection of articles and research you sent over, and I'm so ready to just dig in and unpack it all with you.
Awesome.
So today, we are going on a journey through the history of dogs in America.
Okay.
But not just the, typical timeline you might find in like a textbook or something like that.
Right.
We're going to dig deeper into like this fascinating story of indigenous breeds.
Yes.
Some tragically extinct, and some are amazingly still thriving today.
Mm-hmm.
You might be surprised to learn that dogs were here long before European settlers arrived.
Absolutely.
And that their story in America goes back thousands of years.
It's true. What's fascinating is that dogs were already domesticated in North America long before European contact.
Really?
Yeah, we're talking about unique breeds developed over millennia.
Wow.
Perfectly adapted to the continent's diverse environments and playing critical roles in the lives of indigenous peoples.
Okay, that piques my interest.
Yeah.
Most of us learned about like the European dogs that came over with settlers.
Yeah.
But what were these earlier dogs like?
Think of dogs as essential partners.
Right.
They weren't just pets. They were woven into the fabric of daily life.
Yeah.
They helped with hunting guarded villages and even served as transportation.
Wow.
Imagine dogs pulling sleds across frozen landscapes or assisting in hunts for large game like bison.
Yeah.
They were truly invaluable.
I'm picturing like a completely different picture of early America now.
Yeah.
Did any of these ancient breeds survive the massive changes that came with colonization?
Amazingly, yes. The Carolina dog, sometimes called the American dingo, is believed to be a direct descendant of these pre-colonial dogs. And it's not just their DNA that's fascinating. They still exhibit behaviors directly linked to their wild ancestors.
Oh, wow.
For example, Carolina dogs have a strong instinct to bury food,
Oh, wow.
a trait that would have been essential for survival in the wild.
Wow. A living link to the past, and they're still out there. That alone completely changes my understanding of dog history in America.
Yeah.
So how did things shift when European settlers arrived? I imagine they brought their own canine companions.
Absolutely. They brought Mastiff hounds, Spaniels,
Right.
dogs that reflected their own needs and traditions.
All right.
And these dogs, in turn, adapted to the new environments and challenges of colonial life.
I'm curious, though, weren't these European dogs bred for very different purposes than the indigenous dogs?
Yes.
Did they end up filling similar roles, or did they bring something new to the table?
That's a great question. You're right, their origins were distinct, but we see a blending of roles.
Okay.
European dogs were put to work on farms guarding livestock and even herding cattle, but they also took on roles previously filled by indigenous dogs,
Right.
like assisting in hunting and transportation. It's a testament to their adaptability and the evolving needs of the colonists.
So it was a real melting pot of canine talent.
Yes.
I'm starting to see how the arrival of European dogs marked a turning point, not just a replacement of one type with another.
Right.
But America was expanding rapidly during this time.
Yeah.
How did that westward expansion influence dog breeds and their roles in the 19th century?
Westward expansion was a defining era for dogs in America. It created a demand for dogs specialized for the challenges of frontier life.
Oh.
Suddenly, settlers needed dogs that could handle long cattle drives, protect against predators,
Yeah.
and even adapt to different terrains and climates.
So did this lead to the development of new American breeds, or were European breeds simply adapted for these new tasks?
We see both. The American foxhound, known for its speed and stamina,
Okay.
was developed specifically for hunting in the vast American wilderness.
Wow.
And on a completely different note, the Boston Terrier emerged as one of the first uniquely American breeds.
Right.
Bred initially for companionship and later gaining popularity in dog shows.
Huh.
But European breeds like the Collie were also put to work their herding instincts, proving invaluable for managing livestock on the ever-expanding frontier.
I bet the stories from those cattle drives would be incredible.
I know.
You can really see how integral dogs were to the success of westward expansion.
Absolutely.
So as we move into the 20th century, what shifts do we see in the dog world?
Okay.
America was becoming more industrialized and urbanized.
Right.
Did that impact how people viewed and interacted with dogs?
The 20th century brought about a dramatic shift in the human-dog relationship.
Okay.
Industrialization and urbanization led to a decline in the need for working dogs in many areas.
Right.
Dogs transitioned from essential workers to beloved companions. And this shift wasn't just driven by practicality, it was fueled by a growing recognition of the emotional bond between humans and dogs.
That's such a fascinating turning point. So as city life became the norm for many Americans,
Yeah.
did we see a change in the popularity of certain breeds? I imagine smaller dogs would be more practical in apartment living.
Exactly. Smaller breeds like the miniature Schnauzer and the Cocker Spaniel
Okay.
saw a surge in popularity. They were easier to manage in urban environments and fit the evolving lifestyle of a more urbanized America.
It's interesting how social and economic changes have such a direct impact on dog breeding trends.
Right.
But even with the shift towards companionship, I imagine dogs still played vital roles in the 20th century.
Absolutely. We can't forget the invaluable contributions of military dogs in both world wars.
Oh, right?
They served as messenger scouts and even provided comfort to soldiers on the front lines.
Wow.
And back home, pop culture icons like Lassie solidified the image of the dog as a loyal and beloved member of the family.
From working partners to war heroes to pop culture stars, dogs really have played a remarkable variety of roles throughout American history.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to the fascinating world of dog behavior, I want to delve a bit deeper into the history of those incredible indigenous dog breeds we touched on earlier.
Yes.
There's something captivating about these dogs that seems so connected to the land and the people who first called America home.
Their stories are truly captivating, and unfortunately, many of them are tinged with sadness.
Oh.
While some indigenous breeds have survived, many others were lost to history due to interbreeding and the devastating impact of colonization.
That's heartbreaking,
Yeah,
but it makes exploring their legacies even more important.
absolutely.
Let's start by talking about some of those breeds that are sadly extinct.
Okay.
What can you tell us about them?
One breed that stands out is the Taltan bear dog, a powerful and courageous breed prized by the Taltan people of northwestern Canada for their role in bear hunting.
Whoa.
Imagine a dog fearless enough to confront a bear.
Wow, that's a level of bravery and skill that's hard to fathom.
Yes.
What about other extinct breeds? Were they all specialized for such dramatic tasks?
Not at all. The Hair Indian dog, for example, was a small, slender breed that resembled a coyote or fox.
Okay.
The Hair people in Canada relied on them for hunting small game, but these dogs were also incredibly versatile.
Wow.
They even contributed to transportation by occasionally pulling sleds.
It's fascinating how even smaller breeds were so essential to daily life.
Yeah.
Are there any other extinct breeds that stand out?
One that comes to mind is the Salish wool dog, bred by the Coast Salish peoples. These dogs had amazingly thick woolly coats, and it wasn't just for warmth.
Right.
The Salish people actually used their fur as a source of wool for weaving.
That's incredible. I never would have imagined dogs being used as a source of wool.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the deep bond and ingenuity that existed between indigenous peoples and their dogs.
Yes.
It makes me wonder, are there any surviving breeds from this ancient lineage?
Thankfully, yes. We've already mentioned the remarkable Carolina dog.
Right.
But another fascinating breed is the Chinook, descended from indigenous sled dogs used by the Inuit and Algonquin peoples.
Okay.
They're incredibly strong and resilient, capable of withstanding harsh conditions, and were even selectively bred in the early 20th century.
So despite the challenges, some of these lineages managed to persevere.
Right.
Are there any other surviving indigenous breeds that we should know about?
Of course. The Alaskan Malamute is another prime example.
Okay.
This breed, originating from the Malamute Inuit people of Alaska, is one of the oldest Arctic sled dogs. They're known for their strength, endurance, and ability to pull heavy loads.
Their history is amazing. Thinking about their ancestors pulling sleds across vast icy landscapes is incredible.
Yeah.
What else can you tell us about the cultural significance of indigenous dogs? Were they seen as simply tools, or did they hold a deeper meaning within these communities?
For many tribes, dogs weren't just animals. They held spiritual significance.
Right.
They were often seen as guardians, protectors, or intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. Their presence wasn't limited to the physical realm.
That's a beautiful perspective.
Yeah.
It speaks to a level of respect and connection that goes far beyond a simple working relationship.
Exactly. Dogs were companions, protectors, and respected members of the community. Some tribes even buried their dogs alongside their owners, signifying the profound bond they shared.
It's clear that these dogs were woven into the fabric of indigenous life, both practically and spiritually.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the impact of European colonization.
Right.
How did this historical event affect indigenous dog breeds?
Sadly, the arrival of European settlers and their dogs had a detrimental effect on many indigenous breeds. Interbreeding led to the gradual disappearance of unique genetic lines. Breeds like the Taltan bear dog and the Hair Indian dog were lost entirely.
It's such a loss not just for the breeds themselves, but for the cultural heritage they represented.
Absolutely.
It highlights the importance of conservation efforts to protect those breeds that have managed to survive.
Absolutely. While some breeds, like the Alaskan Malamute and Carolina dog, managed to survive in isolated populations, many others faced a tragic decline.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder of the fragility of biodiversity and the importance of understanding and preserving these living pieces of history.
It's been an incredible journey through the history of dogs in America. I'm particularly struck by the story of indigenous dog breeds and their deep cultural significance.
Yeah.
It's a story that deserves to be told and remembered.
I completely agree. It's a story of adaptation, resilience, and the enduring bond between humans and dogs.
Now, get ready for some aha moments as we decode those quirky and sometimes confusing dog behaviors that make us wonder what's going on in those furry little heads.
Right.
Knowing where dogs come from and the roles they've played throughout history can really help us understand why they do the things they do today.
Absolutely. Let's dive into those fascinating canine behaviors we hear every day barking.
You know, it's funny. We often take barking for granted, but when you think about it, it's such a unique form of communication.
Yeah.
It's how dogs express themselves right.
Yes.
But what are they actually trying to tell us with all that barking?
It's definitely not just random noise. Barking is rooted in their evolutionary history.
Okay.
Remember, dogs descended from wolves who used vocalizations for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Coordinating hunts, warning each other of danger, even maintaining social order within the pack.
So it's like their version of language, but with different barks conveying different messages.
Exactly.
Do we have any idea how to interpret those messages? Can we tell if a bark is meant to be friendly warning or something else?
Think of it like listening to the tone of voice in humans.
Okay.
A sharp, urgent bark could definitely signal a warning, hey, there's something strange over here.
Right.
While a series of playful yips might be more like an invitation, come on, let's play.
That makes sense. But I've always wondered why some breeds seem so much more prone to barking than others.
Right.
Is it just their personality or is there something more to it?
Breed definitely plays a role. Think about beagles bred for hunting, or German shepherds known for their guarding instincts. Those breeds were literally selected for their ability to vocalize. It was part of their job, so it's no surprise that they might be a bit more talkative than, say, a basset hound.
That's so interesting. It's like their barking is literally encoded in their DNA, passed down through generations of dogs bred for specific purposes.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to another classic dog behavior, tail wags.
Yes.
I always thought a wagging tail meant a happy dog.
Right.
But you mentioned earlier that it's more nuanced than that.
Right.
What other messages can a tail wag convey?
It's true. A wagging tail is often a sign of happiness, but it's not always that simple.
Okay.
Dogs use their tails to express a whole range of emotions. A fast, vigorous wag with a relaxed body usually does mean excitement and joy. I'm so happy to see you. But a slow, hesitant wag, especially if their body seems tense or their ears are back, might actually signal uncertainty or even fear.
Really?
It's as if they're saying, I'm not sure about this.
So it's all about reading the whole picture, the tail, the body language, the ears. It's much more subtle than I realized.
Yeah.
What about those stiff, upright tail wags I sometimes see?
Right.
Those always seem a bit more intense.
You're right to pay attention to those.
Yeah.
A stiff, upright wag can definitely be a sign of dominance or even a warning. It's like the dog is saying, I'm in charge here, or back off. It's essential to observe the context and the dog's overall demeanor.
It's amazing how much information they pack into a single tail wag.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another behavior.
Okay.
That's both endearing and puzzling, sniffing.
Yes.
Why do dogs sniff everything? Is it just pure curiosity? Or is something more going on there?
Curiosity certainly plays a role, but it goes much deeper than that.
Okay.
Remember, a dog's sense of smell is about 40 times stronger than ours.
Yeah.
Imagine experiencing the world through your nose with that level of sensitivity.
Wow, that's incredible. I can't even begin to fathom what that would be like.
For dogs, it's like their primary way of experiencing the world. They use their noses to gather information about their surroundings, identify other animals, even detect subtle changes in emotions.
So it's like their way of reading the newspaper. Each sniff is a headline. No wonder they spend so much time with their noses to the ground.
Right.
Okay, this next one has always baffled me. Digging. What's the point? Is it just destructive behavior? Or is there an evolutionary reason for all that excavating?
It's definitely instinctual.
Oh.
Digging is hardwired into their DNA passed down from their wild ancestors.
Right.
Think about it. Wild dogs dug dens for shelter,
Okay.
buried food to save for later,
Yeah.
and even excavated prey.
So digging is basically in their genes. It's like they're channeling their inner wolf. But why do some dogs seem so obsessed with digging while others hardly ever do it?
Breed plays a big role here, too.
Okay.
Certain breeds, like terriers,
Yeah.
were literally bred to hunt rodents and other burrowing animals.
Right.
So for them, digging isn't just an instinct, it's part of their job description.
That explains why my friend Jack Russell is constantly turning her garden into a moonscape.
I bet.
Okay, here's a behavior that's always both adorable and mysterious head tilting.
Okay.
I always wondered, why do dogs tilt their heads when we talk to them? Are they just trying to look cute?
I'm sure the cuteness factor doesn't hurt, but researchers believe there's a more scientific explanation. One theory is that head tilting helps dogs localize sounds.
Okay.
By adjusting their ear position, they can better pinpoint where a sound is coming from.
So it's like they're fine-tuning their auditory senses. Are there any other theories about why they do it?
Some experts believe that head tilting might help dogs better understand human speech.
Really?
By tilting their heads, they may be trying to decipher our facial expressions and tone of voice, especially since our faces are so flat compared to other animals.
It's like they're trying their best to understand what we're saying. That's so endearing. Okay, here's another behavior that always cracks me up. Circling before lying down.
Okay.
Why do dogs do that? Are they just making sure they have enough space?
That's a great question. It actually goes back to their wild ancestors. Imagine a dog in the wild preparing to rest.
Right.
By circling, they would flatten down grass or leaves to create a more comfortable bed.
Ah, so it's like they're making their own little nest, even if it's just on the living room rug.
Yeah.
But is that the only reason?
Yeah.
Or could there be other motivations for all that circling?
Good point. Circling also served another purpose in the wild.
No.
It allowed dogs to check their surroundings for potential threats before settling down.
Right.
It's like a quick security sweep to make sure they're safe and sound.
It's incredible how these seemingly quirky behaviors are actually rooted in survival instincts that have been passed down for generations.
It's true.
Okay, moving on to licking.
Okay.
Most people assume dogs lick us to show affection, but you've hinted that there's more to it.
Yeah.
What other messages might be hidden behind a dog's lick?
You're right. Licking can definitely be a sign of affection, but it can also be a way for dogs to show submission.
Okay.
Or even a way to get your attention. Hey, look at me.
Right.
Remember, puppies lick their mother's mouth to solicit food?
Oh, right.
So licking can have multiple meanings depending on the context.
That's like another layer of their complex communication system.
Exactly.
It's amazing how much we can learn about our dogs just by paying closer attention to those seemingly simple behaviors. Okay. Last but not least, let's talk about tail chasing. Is this just a playful behavior, or is there something more to it, especially in older dogs?
In puppies, tail chasing is usually just a playful way to burn off energy.
Okay.
It's like their version of a game of tag with themselves.
Right.
But in adult dogs, persistent tail chasing could signal boredom anxiety or even underlying medical issues like allergies or even neurological problems.
So if an adult dog suddenly starts chasing its tail a lot, it's probably a good idea to check in with a vet just in case.
Absolutely. It's always better to err on the side of caution. There could be something going on that needs attention.
This deep dive into dog behavior has been so eye-opening. I feel like I can finally understand my furry friends on a deeper level.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I'm curious, with all this talk about instinctual behavior, do dogs still retain those wild instincts?
Right.
Even after generations of domestication? It's fascinating to think that even after centuries of domestication, like these echoes of their wild past still linger in our dogs' behavior.
It really speaks to the power of instinct and how those deep-rooted behaviors honed over millennia continue to shape their actions even in the most pampered of pooches.
It makes you realize that there's so much more going on beneath the surface than we often realize.
Yeah.
I mean, we tend to focus on the cuteness, the loyalty, the companionship, which are all amazing parts of having a dog in your life. But understanding those deeper instincts, those threads that connect them to their wild ancestors, that adds a whole other dimension to our relationship with them.
Absolutely. And that understanding is crucial for building a truly harmonious relationship with our canine companions.
Right.
It's about appreciating their unique perspective on the world, a world experienced through scent instinct and those echoes of their wild past.
You know, as we've been on this journey through dog history and behavior, I can't help but be struck by the incredible bond we humans have with them. It's a bond that spans continents and millennia, from those early partnerships with indigenous peoples to the modern-day love affair we have with our dogs.
It's a testament to the power of interspecies connection.
Yeah.
Dogs have been woven into the tapestry of human history for so long.
Right.
And their impact on our lives is undeniable.
Yeah.
They've served as our protectors, our helpers, our confidants. They've enriched our lives in countless ways. And in turn, we've shaped their evolution and their destiny.
And as we've learned today, understanding their behavior is key to nurturing that bond.
Absolutely.
By decoding their barks, their wags,
right,
even their digging habits,
right,
we can deepen our connection and build a stronger, more empathetic relationship.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond simply seeing their actions,
right,
to truly understanding the motivations and instincts behind them. That's where the real magic of the human-dog bond lies.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of dogs, what are the key takeaways we should keep in mind?
Okay.
What does all this knowledge about their history, their breeds, their behavior, how does it all fit together?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Dogs are complex creatures with rich histories and unique ways of communicating. By appreciating their evolutionary journey, recognizing the diversity of breeds, and understanding the motivations behind their behaviors, we can cultivate more fulfilling, more harmonious relationships with them.
That's beautifully put. And it reminds us that there's always more to learn, more to discover about these amazing animals who share our lives.
It's true.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of dogs. Until next time, keep those tails wagging and those ears perked up for more captivating deep dives.